Yo, what's going on guys, Y5K, welcome to a new tutorial on FIFA 23. If you ever saw someone performing a fancy finish, for example a RABONA shot, a 360 shot or even a rainbow flick finish, and you wondered how can I perform a fancy finish on FIFA 23, well, welcome everyone. On this video I'm going to show you how to perform every single FLAIR shot, cross and pass on FIFA 23. Before we jump into the video, most of these skill moves require a player that has got the FLAIR trait, so make sure you are using a player that has got the FLAIR trait. With that being said, let's jump straight into the video. Now let's start things up with the easiest one, which is going to be the FLAIR pass. Pretty easy, does not require any skill move. You can do it all with a player who only got 2-star skill move, but at the same time it would be better if you are using a player that has got the FLAIR trait. Now to perform a FLAIR pass, there's many ways to perform a FLAIR pass, so let's start things up with the easiest one, which is going to be a normal FLAIR pass. All you have to do, you are using a player that has got the FLAIR trait, hold L2 on PlayStation or LT on Xbox, and then pass the ball, but don't put too much power on the pass. All you have to do, 1 bar of power and your player will perform a FLAIR pass. This is the easiest one to perform a FLAIR pass. You can do it while the ball is in the air, which is really cool and fancy in my opinion. All you have to do if you want to perform a FLAIR pass while the ball is in the air, hold L2 and then pass using only 1 bar of power. It's really easy, not complicated at all. You can do it with any player that you have. Even if he does not have the FLAIR trait, he will perform a FLAIR pass. With that being said, that was the only easy part of this video. Now as long as I go, you're gonna hear some really complicated stuff, especially when we start talking about the FLAIR shots. So with that being said, let's move on into more complicated stuff and let me show you how to perform a rainbow pass on FIFA 23. Now first thing first, if you want to perform a rainbow pass, it requires a player that has got at least 3-star skill moves, and of course it would be better if you are using a player that has got the FLAIR trait. If you want to perform the rainbow pass, you have to perform the rainbow flick skill move, and while your player is performing the rainbow flick skill move, you have to be quick and you have to hold the L2 or LT and then pass the ball. You have to time it perfectly. And if you don't know how to perform the rainbow flick, all you have to do, flick your right stick backwards and then flick it again forward. And you have to time it perfectly. While your player is performing the rainbow flick, you have to hold the L2 or LT and then pass the ball. And if you couldn't do it, keep an eye on the controller point of view so you can see exactly how I am doing it. Now I'm not gonna lie to you, it's really hard. Your player might not perform it every time, but after practicing for 2-3 times you will know when to pass the ball and what is the perfect timing that I was talking about. Now let's move on into another fancy FLAIR pass. If I'm being honest, I don't know what this FLAIR pass is called. However, if you want to perform it, first thing first, you have to perform the drag back skill move, which is by holding the R1 and the L1 button and then moving your left stick the opposite direction that you were moving to. And then while your player is performing the drag back, you have to be quick and you have to hold the L2 and then pass the ball. It's a really cool fancy FLAIR pass if I'm being honest, but again, like I said, you have to time it perfectly. While your player is performing the drag back, you have to hold the L2 and then pass the ball. If you are on Xbox, you have to press the RB and the LB button. Move your player backward, which is the opposite direction that you were moving to, and again, while your player is performing the drag back, you have to hold the LT and then pass the ball. So this is all for the FLAIR pass. Now I'm getting a lot of comments saying the FLAIR pass doesn't exist anymore on FIFA 23. Your player will perform an outside foot pass. And this is the reason why I say you have to listen carefully to what I say. I have said on the start of the FLAIR pass you have to put only 1 bar of power, because if you use more than 1 bar of power, your player won't go for a FLAIR pass, he will perform an outside foot pass. With that being said, let's move on into something that's more fun and more complicated. Yes, I'm talking about the FLAIR shots. Now some of the FLAIR shots require a player that has got 5-star skill moves, some of them require a player who only got 2-star skill moves, so basically it depends on which FLAIR shot do you want to perform, and as we all know there's many FLAIR shots to perform. Now let me start off by saying, if you want to perform a FLAIR shot on FIFA 23, there's some rules that you should put on your mind. So before you go to the comments and say it's not working for me, it's photoshopped, whatever, hear me carefully. First thing first, your player should be inside the box. You can't do it while your player is outside the box. Second thing, use only 1 bar of power to perform any kind of FLAIR shot. If you use more than 1 bar of power, your player might go for an outside foot shot, a bicycle kick, a scissor kick, basically not a FLAIR shot. And to perform a normal FLAIR shot, it's really easy. All you have to do, hold LT or L2 and then shoot using only 1 bar of power, and again your player should be inside the box. Using this method, your player might perform a backheel shot or even a no-look shot. In my opinion, it's not fancy enough, so let's move on into the good fancy stuff, starting things up with the RABONA shot. If you want to perform a RABONA shot, you should be using a player that has got at least 4-star skill moves. And of course you should be using a player that has got the FLAIR trait. Now to perform a RABONA shot you can actually do it by only holding L2 or LT and then shooting using only 1 bar of power. But using this method, your player might perform any kind of FLAIR shot, so it's a random FLAIR shot. You might see him going for a RABONA shot, but at the same time you might see him going for a backheel shot, a no-look shot, or any kind of FLAIR shots. So if you want a player to 100% perform the RABONA shot, hear me carefully. First thing first, go inside the box with a player that has got at least 4-star skill moves and the FLAIR trait, and then perform the fake shot. Make your player fully stopped and quickly hold the L2 or the LT and then shoot using only 1 bar of power. Using this method, your player will 99% perform a RABONA shot if you know where to aim. Aiming is really important when it comes to the RABONA shot. What I mean is, if you have a right-footed player, aim to the left of the goal so your player will perform the RABONA shot with his strong foot. Moving on from the RABONA shot to something that's more fancy and more complicated at the same time, the 360 shot. Yes, you can perform a 360 shot on FIFA 23. If you want to perform it, you have to have a player that has got at least 3-star skill moves and the FLAIR trait. Now if you are on PlayStation and you want to perform the 360 shot, first thing first you should perform the drag back skill move. And while your player is performing the drag back skill move, you have to hold the L2 and the L1 and then shoot using only 1 bar of power. Yes, you guessed it right, it's gonna be a chip shot. You have to hold the L1 button, that's the only way to perform the 360 shot. To perform the drag back, you have to hold the R1 and the L1 button, move your player the opposite direction that your player is moving to, and you're gonna see him performing the drag back. You have to be quick, it's hard, I'm not gonna lie to you. You have to time it perfectly. While your player is performing the drag back, you have to hold the L2 and the L1 on PlayStation, or the LT and the LB on Xbox, and then shoot using only 1 bar of power. Moving on into another way to perform a FLAIR shot, but this time while the ball is in the air. Yes, you can perform a FLAIR shot while the ball is in the air. If you want to perform a FLAIR shot while the ball is in the air, you can do it with absolutely any player. Yes, you can even do it with your goalkeeper. It doesn't require any skill moves, but it would be better to use a player that has got the FLAIR trait. Now to perform a FLAIR shot while the ball is in the air, first thing you have to cross the ball, and when it comes to crossing the ball, the best method to use is by holding L1 or LB before you cross and then cross the ball. Using this method, your player will cross the ball high in the air, so your second player will have the time to perform a FLAIR shot. And then when you want to shoot, you should be holding L2 and L1 on PlayStation, or LT and LB on Xbox, and then shoot using only 1 bar of power. If you only hold L2 or LT, your player will perform a bicycle kick, a scissor kick, or sometimes you're gonna see him going for a scorpion kick, which is a FLAIR shot in the end, but in my opinion it's not fancy enough. So if you want the good fancy stuff, hold the L2 and the L1 and then shoot. Moving on into the hardest FLAIR shot EA ever created, by the name of the rainbow finish. It's absolutely great, cool and fancy, but at the same time really hard to do. If you wanna do it, you should be using a player that has got at least 3-star skill moves and the FLAIR trait. And in game, first thing first, you have to perform the rainbow flick skill move, which is by flicking your right stick backwards and then flick it again forward. And the hard part about this FLAIR shot is you have to time it perfectly. While your player is performing the rainbow flick skill move, you have to hold the L2 and then shoot. You can do it as a chip shot as well. You can hold L2 and L1 and then shoot. If you are on Xbox, perform the rainbow flick skill move, which is by flicking your right stick the opposite direction that your player is moving to and then flick it again the same direction that your player is moving to. And when you want to shoot, you should hold LT and then shoot using only 1 bar of power. And like I said, you can do it as a chip shot, but this time you have to hold the LT and the LB and then shoot using only 1 bar of power. And like I said, it's really hard. It's one of the hardest FLAIR shots EA ever created. In my opinion, before using it in matches, go to the practice arena and start practicing. And for the last one, let me introduce you to one of my favorite ways to perform a FLAIR shot, by the name of the backheel chip shot. Really cool and fancy in my opinion. It does not require any skill moves at all. You can do it with a player who only got 2-star skill moves, and again use a player that has got the FLAIR trait. And if you want to perform it in game, if you are on PlayStation, first thing first, your player should not face the goal this time. This time his back should be facing the goal, and then when you want to shoot, you should hold L2 and L1 and then shoot using only 1 bar of power. In my opinion, it's a really cool fancy FLAIR shot. Like I said, it's one of my favorite FLAIR shots to perform. Now, one of the ways to perform this FLAIR shot is by performing a drag back. Make your player perform a drag back and go the opposite direction that your player was going to, and then hold L2 and L1, and of course your player should not face the goal, his back should be to the goal. And if you are on Xbox, you should hold the LT and the LB buttons and then shoot. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is all the FLAIR shots that I have got for you. Now, I have tried my best to explain everything. It's complicated, I'm not gonna lie to you. And still, if you couldn't do it and you need some help with the FLAIR shots, let me know in the comments below. I will try my best to help you all. With that being said, that's the FLAIR shots and the FLAIR passes done. There's only one left, which is going to be the FLAIR cross. How can you perform a FLAIR cross on FIFA 23? I have got many comments saying there's no more FLAIR crosses on FIFA 23, your player will perform an outside foot cross. Well, I have to deny that, and there is a way to perform a FLAIR cross on FIFA 23. First thing, it does not require any skill moves, you can do it all with the player who only got 2-star skill moves. And if you want to perform a FLAIR cross in game, if you are on a PlayStation, you have to hold the L2 and the N-wall button, and then the most important thing, you have to cross by only using 1 bar of power, because if you use more than 1 bar of power, your player this time will perform an outside foot cross. You can also do it by only holding L2, but I would recommend to hold the L2 and the L1, it's more fancy in my opinion. If you are on Xbox, you have to hold the LB and the LT button and then cross the ball using only 1 bar of power. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was the FLAIR cross, FLAIR shots, as well as the FLAIR passes on FIFA 23. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and like, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.